Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for attending. My name is Paul Bull, and I will be the moderator this evening for this forum. Joining me this evening are Democrat Joe Longoria, Democrat Beth Weiser, Republican Regina Cobb, and Republican Sonny Borelli. Now, can I please ask all of you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I do have a little script that I do need to read this evening because this is a clean election. The Citizens Clean Election Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. Participation as a clean elections candidate is strictly voluntary. The system provides full funding for qualified candidates who agree to abide by the Clean Election Act and rules. To qualify for funding, participating candidates must illustrate the support of their constituents by gathering $5 qualifying contributions from registered voters in their legislative district. The candidates agree to adhere to contribution and spending limits and may not accept money from special interest groups. They also agree to participate in these debates. This evening there is an independent timer who will be Chris, who will see all the candidates have an equal time to answer questions and will tell them when the time is up. Our format this evening will be as such. We'll have opening statements of 3 minutes per candidate. We'll then move on to prepared questions. We will then have audience questions, and then we'll have closing statements again of 3 minutes per candidate. We ask that you remain polite to all of the candidates and give them a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with anything being said. This means no applause, outbursts, or cheers, except when we introduce the candidates. This is especially important as post-captioning services will be made available after the debate for those individuals that are hard of hearing. As such, I will refer to each candidate by their full name prior to each question and ask that candidates speak clearly into their microphone. So, we will proceed. We're going to start with opening statements. And we will have Joe Longoria please begin.
Thank you. My name is Joe Longoria, candidate for the Arizona House of Representatives to represent people of Mojave and La Paz counties. I want to thank Paul Bull for being a moderator, Clean Elections Commission for providing this debate, and the Mojave Community College and all of you for coming out tonight. I love living in the state of Arizona. We have one of the most beautiful states in our magnificent country. We have the Grand Canyon, one of the 7 wonders of the world. Mojave County alone, we have Havasupai Falls near Peach Springs, which is one of the most beautiful places you could ever go to. We have the Colorado River here that provides Mojave County millions of dollars in recreational use, fishing, and enjoying the waters. The state also has fantastic parks, petrified forest. Unfortunately, what the rest of the country and the world sees has been, in the past few years, a step backward, a state that's not moving forward. And I'm running to move Arizona forward. I want to go to work for the citizens of Mojave and La Paz, to work for jobs, opportunities, and education. And I want to do that by seeing that our minimum wage is increased to $10.10 by 2016. I want to build bridges between our business leaders and our graduates and those seeking employment. And I want to make sure that we're not ranked 47th and now 49th in the nation in funding per pupil. I'm running to give voice to those whose voices have gone unheard with this current representation. Voices of mothers and fathers and students and teachers and immigrants. Because instead of creating an economic environment that would build bridges between our graduates and those seeking the job force, this past representation passed bills like 1062, which actually legislated discrimination based on someone's sexual orientation. They also enacted legislation that thwarted a woman's choice in reproductive health care. And they also did not address the needs of our education system to fully fund a quality education in Arizona. I'm going to work closely with the governments of Mojave and La Paz to make sure that our needs are being met. I will work to move Arizona forward, a future of better paying jobs, increased health care choices, higher quality education, and equality for all. And I believe tonight we're going to see that we're going to have a clear choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Beth Weiser.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here. Just a little bit about my background. I'm a farm girl from upstate New York. I got my business degree in college in Iowa, and I moved to Arizona 30 years ago. I've been in this state long enough to see quite a few political swings. Now, I'm running as a Democrat, but that's because when I studied Democrats and Republicans in this current time, Democrats show that they care for people. I have a lot of Republican friends, and yes, they do things that shows they care for people, but not as far as when you're talking about platform. I was teaching school when I decided to run for office. I was watching my class sizes go from 20 to 36. I was watching the bullying exponentially increase. I was watching mandates on teachers continue to rise and pay frozen. Not because the state couldn't afford to take care of its education. Public education is #1 priority for the state in the Constitution, but because they choose different priorities. They choose to give more money to private prisons, which is taxpayer dollars taken and given to profiteers' pockets. The state has been showing over the last 12 years that it doesn't care for its citizens. It cares for those who make money. I'm here not as a politician. I am here because I care about people. I care that we have our rights and that we are taken care of in a way that allows us to take care of ourselves, not puts us into poverty, not undereducates us, but allows us to keep our rights, to grow as people, and to be everything that we can be in Arizona. Thank you.
Okay, our next candidate this evening is Regina Cobb.
I'm Regina Cobb. I have been a resident of this district for 21 years. I've been a business owner for 21 years of 3 different businesses here. I've raised my family in this area, and I've been a homeowner, so I've paid taxes, property taxes, those kind of things, so I know the difficulties that we have in our area. One of the reasons that I decided to run was over the last several years, I've had growth in my business, a slow growth, but over the last probably 7-8 years, I've had a steady decline in growth. The other thing that's bothered me is the intrusion that the federal government has had on my business, and that's why my growth has decreased. I have had more mandates, more intrusion, more involvement with the federal government than I've ever had in my life, and it interrupts what I've considered a great relationship between the doctor and the patient. And as far as I'm concerned, that's one of those relationships that should always be valued, is the doctor-patient relationship. One of my goals as far as going into the legislature is we just last year passed Medicaid expansion. I believe that that is just kicking the can down the road. It was just a stopgap for us. We probably would have lost a few hospitals within our district if we had not have done the Medicaid expansion. But I feel that, and so it did save, and Kingman Regional Medical Center was one of those. One of the hospitals here in Bullhead City was another one that we probably would have lost due to lack of funding. So I think it was assisting those people, but it also has decreased what the private practice can do. So your doctor-patient relationship within your private offices is decreased. So I think that what we need to do over the next several years, and it needs to start now, because that federal dollar is not going to be there for us in 4 to 5 years from now for Medicaid expansion. So our state is going to end up funding that ourselves. So we've got a plan for that. So one of the things that I want to do this year is to start working on that plan, and it's probably going to be a few years down the road before it's implemented. But I would like to work on the plan to have our state be self-sufficient without federal government involvement in our health care. Also, state lands is another issue, and public schools, as far as how much funding our public schools get, is another issue that I'm going to be looking at in the near future. I've been a resident, a longtime, hardworking citizen of this community, and I plan on working hard for you again. I thank the Clean Elections, Paul and Chris, for having us here today, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to talk to our constituents.
And finally, our candidate, Sonny Borelli.
Thank you very much, folks. I'm Representative Sonny Borelli. I'm your current state representative, and I'm thanking you for the opportunity to be in front of you once again. My background is I'm a retired Marine. I spent 22 years in the Marine Corps. I retired in October of '99 and moved to Arizona, and this is my home. This is the longest I've ever been in one spot my entire life, and I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be your state representative. The last 2 years have been a big eye-opener for me, because seeing what goes on at the legislature is kind of amazing, how some of the cat fights and dog fights that go on. I have been successful in getting a few bills passed through, I might add, bipartisan issues. My very first bill got through and got signed into law, and it was unanimous, both Republican and Democrat, and that was for helping out our veterans get credit for their military training so that way they can get a state license. Plus other public safety related bills and military related bills, and even one school education type of bill. When I'm a fighter. Even my own colleagues at the State House, they know not to pick a fight with me when they want to have an argument over history or some of the other things, and I have to sometimes make them see the light on not just taking hype and rhetoric. I always refer to watch Magnum PI when he's trying to pick the lock and the Dobermans are coming after old Thomas Magnum, and he says, don't look at the locks, or don't look at the dogs, work the lock. Well, I tell the same thing to my colleagues over there in the House. Don't listen to the hype and the rhetoric, work the bill, because if you peel that onion somewhere in the middle there lies the truth. And once you wipe away the tears, then you can actually see the truth and you see the issues, and you can finally get past things and get things settled and accomplished. So, I'm fighting for jobs. And how do I do that? By cutting red tape. I did that with House Bill 2076, which cut government red tape to help vets get their state licenses. And that also got expanded for our military policemen to help them go through a shorter version of a police academy, rather than doing a 5-month police academy. That redundant training was eliminated, so they only had to do 2 months. That saves the taxpayers dollars, not only locally, but statewide. I'm fighting for protecting our businesses by overregulation, by preventing that. And hopefully I'm going to be the chairman for the Military Affairs and Public Safety Committee. And one of my main concerns is securing the border, because it's not about immigration. It's about an armed invasion of drug smugglers and human traffickers bringing people across the state border, the United States border, and killing Americans, citizens, innocent American citizens, and also trafficking young women into sex slavery. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move into the questions. This first one we'll start with Beth. And the first question is, and you'll have 90 seconds to answer this question. What is the most serious challenge facing Arizona?
Other than public education, is balancing our budget. Right now, we're faced with it's $1.3 billion we are supposed to pay to schools that the Supreme Court of Arizona has said, yes, you have to pay this back. I know that we're not required to pay the whole thing right up this year, but just finding part of it to pay this year is going to be not an easy task. I really believe that balancing our priorities with our money is going to be a very important deal. Not waiting till the end of the session to create the budget is critical for schools. And then, of course, making sure our priority is taking care of our public education system. Thank you.
Regina?
I think our biggest priority, or the biggest issue that we're facing with our state right now is the federal involvement. I mentioned it in my opening remarks. We have a federal involvement in our schools. We have the federal involvement in our healthcare with our state lands. There's a lot of intrusion into our lifestyle that we have as we know it as Arizonans today. I feel that this administration is put Arizona as the poor stepchild in the United States. And one of the things that I want to decrease is that much involvement. As much as we can, try to fund some of the things that we can on our own without using federal dollars. And that's going to be a difficult task. One of the things that Beth just mentioned was the debt that we have to our school districts. That debt needs to be paid back and needs to be paid back immediately. And I think that needs to come back to the schools as quickly as it can. And that's going to make our task difficult this year, balancing the budget. But also we've got to look not just to this year, but we've got a few years down the road that we have debts on the schools that we have to pay back. And so this is going to be a long-term commitment that we're going to need to do. And that means that we have to be frugal and really careful in how we do our spending this next year. Thank you.
Dr. Cobb brought up some very good points, and actually I finally found something I agree with Ms. Weiser, because we definitely have to have a balanced budget. That's what we're mandated to in the Constitution. However, how are we going to do that? But we have to cut some things. So it'd be kind of interesting to find out what things we need to cut, because right now public safety, education take up 3/4 of our state budget. So it'd be kind of interesting to find out what are we going to start cutting. Yes, that's true. The education funding did get swept along with HERF. We did manage to get some of that HERF funding reinstated. $30 million this next fiscal year, FY15 and FY16. Another $30 million is being reinstated, and then FY17 is being reinstated. Now, rural Arizona is the ones that always catch the short end of the stick in this, because it's rural versus urban when it comes to the funding in the state of Arizona, because it's that state of Maricopa County and even Pima County in there, because more than 50% of the representatives in the House and the Senate all come from that area. So we are fighting for every dollar, every penny we actually get. And when they get to their end fighting, regardless if it's R or a D, that's where that big priority is, and it's up to rural Arizona leadership to get that. As far as the budget goes being done at the end of the session, I'd love to see that go at the beginning of the session, but it's leadership that controls the budget. That's on the Senate and the House. So, and they play their silly games with it, even when the Democrats had a friend on the 9th floor. So, that budget becomes a big football to strangle everybody with. So, but I'm in favor of a balanced budget. However, but what are we going to start cutting? It can't be public safety and it can't be education. so it's got to be from other sources. And I think a big thing that could really help us out is getting our public lands back to the public of Arizona and getting released from the federal stranglehold that they've got on public lands. Thank you.
Finally, Joe?
The biggest issue that I think is facing our state is our economy. We are not keeping up with the rest of the country, and there are a myriad of reasons for that. But I think one of the most important is the education. We do not have a quality enough education to show businesses, to invite them to come here. We rank 49th in funding per pupil, and pretty next to last or last in our graduation dropout rate. It has to change. And it's, unfortunately, this has been going on for a few years, and there's now not a magic wand that we can wave to change this overnight. I don't believe, quite frankly, that the government is our enemy. I don't think that the federal government is the problem. The state of Arizona, for every dollar that we send to Washington, we receive $1.75 back. I would like to see how we would be able to tackle taking over the federal lands when we can't even afford to do some of the things that we have now. So I think that we need to focus on education, look at the budget, find where there are inefficiencies, and find the money to have a quality education system in Arizona so that we can attract the businesses that we need to expand our base, that will bring the revenues that we need to do all the other things.
Well, you've done a fine job this evening of already decimating my questions because you've hit on so many of them already. So we're going to have to shuffle just a little bit, and then we'll move on to audience questions. So this one's a little unique, and we'll start with Regina on this, and you'll have 60 seconds on this one.
Okay.
Okay? If elected, what committee would you like to serve on and why?
Well, probably for obvious reasons. My number one choice would be Health Committee. And I would love to serve on the Health Committee because that's what I know best. As a freshman coming in, that's what I think I need to do is to serve on and be able to work on a committee that I know the most about, and that's the committee I want to. My secondary choice would probably be working with the water and resources, and mainly because I don't know a lot about water and resources, but because we Sunny has been on the transportation part of it, and I feel like that water and resources is a big thing for rural Arizona, and I feel like the more I know, the more I can do, and how I can influence, and the representatives that I have within my realm, I think we can influence and try to get some changes in our resources here.
Thank you. Sonny?
Well, naturally, the Public Safety Military Regulatory Affairs Committee, obviously, for public safety is one of my pet peeves, and of course, military taking care of our veterans, but it's a broader issue than just that. Like I said, we have an armed invasion of drug smugglers and human traffickers coming across our border. I mean, our own federal government, I mean, no disrespect, Joe, but I don't trust our federal government. I think they lie to us all the time. We had an invasion of young women and children actually go through the country of Mexico and make an amphibious assault in Texas, and they all became undetected by our own federal government. And to say that our border is more secure now than it ever has been is a complete lie, falsehood. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a lie, it's a falsehood, and it needs to be stopped. If the federal government won't protect us, then we're going to have to do it ourselves. We have citizens of Arizona that are afraid to leave their homes along the border, in those border communities, and they have to leave guards behind, and that's a shame.
I would like to work on the Education Committee for obvious reasons, and also labor relations. You know, I'm an average Joe who's worked in the floor covering industry for over 36 years. And I've managed small retail floor covering stores. I've met payrolls. I've worked as an instructor for large corporations. I've gone to trade shows and seminars as a manufacturer's representative. Developed a lot of training modules to train individuals in flooring. And I want to be able to take that experience to help those issues that we face in our county. And I want to work that in the Education Committee by making sure that our career and technical education is well funded. The JTED programs, WAVES, because we realize that not all of our graduates are going to college. So we need to make sure that they have careers to go to as well.
Beth?
My obvious answer is the Education Committee. The legislature works hand in hand with the Superintendent of Public Construction. And too often, legislation is being made that really doesn't need to be there. If the Superintendent of Public Construction were their department taking care of the actual there's just a whole bunch of stuff, I can't say it, lump it into one phrase. But if they were given the ability to continue to work on it, instead of legislation taking over and saying, now you got to figure this out, now you have to do that, then I think that all of our schools will be in much better shape. We were in much better shape 20, 30 years ago. We can get there again.
Okay, thank you. This question will start with Sunny. I'm going to kind of tie a couple questions here together. The Arizona unemployment rate has remained around 7% this year and has been slow to recover. What do you propose to improve the job climate? And I'd like to tie in with that. And what are your thoughts then on increasing minimum wage? And for this, we'll have 90 seconds.
That's a very complex issue for 90 seconds. Well, we have to encourage businesses to come here, and that's by deregulating some of these businesses, so that way they can by making Arizona more business-friendly to come here. As far as minimum wage goes, I mean, imposing a minimum wage onto the private sector, I think is wrong, because what you're going to do is just impose government-induced inflation, because they're going to end up laying people off, and like I said, you can lay people off to be able to pay for that. But when we talk about somebody, we're talking about entry-level employment. Well, it's kind of amazing if somebody brings up entry-level employment need to be $10 an hour or $15 an hour. Do you realize what our troops make? Our entry-level armed forces, our troops, they make about $1,800. When they're in combat, they're getting about $1,800 a month with their combat pay. And that breaks down to, if you break it down to 30 days, 24 hours a day, or actually an 8-hour day, that comes out to $7.50 an hour if you break it down to 24/7, because that's what we really do. It actually comes out to $2.50 an hour. So I think giving somebody $15 an hour for taking a food order and then messing it up at the drive-through, with somebody going in harm's way, I think there's a really disparity there, so, which is kind of interesting that the Democrats are really pushing for this minimum wage thing when historically they've voted against defense funding.
Okay. And Joe?
Okay. There's a couple things that we can do, and it all takes money. I disagree with Representative Borelli about the need to have a minimum wage. People, women, single women with children earning the minimum wage now, they're living at or below the poverty level. If you can go to a business and work for them at minimum wage and still qualify for government assistance, I think there's something wrong with that. If we were to raise the minimum wage in the state, around the country, it would help 23 million children alone. Help them get out of that poverty level. Now, businesses can absorb this. This has been done in the past. You pay a worker what they're worth. You pay them so that they are satisfied. This is the Henry Ford model. You pay them enough money so they can buy your product. And another way that we can do that in the absence of businesses hiring, unfortunately, it is the government that is the last resort. We have a lot of things that we can do in this state to put people to work. We can work on our infrastructure, on our roads, our bridges. set some electrical grids in motion for our future technologies. And that is the sole purpose of government, is to make it better for all of us. Thank you.
Beth?
Okay. Studies have proven that increasing minimum wage does not make our economy tank. It actually improves our economy. When people have enough money to go to the store and buy the things they need, then the store owner is making sales. This spurs our economy. That takes care of unemployment. When you spur the economy, then there are more people who are needed to be employed in order to continue the process. If they're paid a living wage, they can buy more things, then there are more sales, there's a better economy. This is a simple cycle of economics. The problem is when our state interferes with this. I agree that Arizona has had interference in some of this, partly because they're making sure that people who already have plenty of money have made more profits. And so then the regular middle class, most of the citizens have to pay that increase for their profits because they've got the lobbyists to pay, they've got the money to make sure the legislators are listening. Oh, let's write the bill this way, and we'll make sure that we get money. Who cares about the hundreds of thousands of people who lose their job?
Okay, and finally, Regina.
Arizona's been 49th in economic recovery, and it's not because our wages are low. It's because we have difficulty attracting new businesses to this area. And when the businesses left, when we went up and we climbed during the economic growth, we dropped just as hard when the economy fell. And that's what happened to us. Putting mandates on private businesses to say that this is what your minimum wage is going to be is definitely not what I think we should be doing to increase economy. As a business owner, and one of the only business owners here, I'm telling you that if I am mandated to increase wages for my employees, they're getting less hours, they're going to get less benefits, they're going to get a lot less of what they come to work for me for. And that's not going to spur this economy. Right now, we are in a recession. We're talking, when Beth was talking growth and how it's going to grow if the minimum wage grows, that's during a growing economy. That's not during a recession time. We're in a recession time. And to create these mandates on private businesses and our small businesses right now, that is going to decrease what we can do for our employees.
Okay, thank you. All right, this question will begin with Joe, and we're going to start going to some of the questions from the audience. And will be 60 seconds to answer this. This question reads, with a $317 million debt owed to the schools, what will you personally do to ensure our cities don't suffer more with further cuts to pay your bill?
Well, I will move to, the budget process is lengthy, and 60 seconds isn't enough to get into all the details of it. But we do know that there's waste, there's inefficiencies in a lot of the departments. This is not unknown. We have to make sure that when the governor comes and presents his budget, and then when all the other agencies come and present their budgets, that we look really closely at tackling the tough choices that have to be made to make sure that we can pay that. And I would hope that the incoming leadership, and hopefully the only way that we can make a change in leadership is to vote some Democrats in there, and hopefully that they will tackle this budget issue in the beginning. This is what we're mandated to do as legislators, to take care of the budget. And if we start out with that, then maybe we can work together and address a lot of these issues and make sure that the money is there for the children, because we have to do it one way or the other.
Thank you. Beth?
Just to throw the idea out there. Number one, I think the $317 million is going to be really difficult given the current climate, given where the money is allocated at the current time. But if we did something radical, like understanding that legalization of marijuana is going to happen. Go ahead and do it now, make it retroactive, release them out of jail. Wow, our budget for prisons goes down, we have money. That is a real simple, let's throw it out there, but that is a simple way of doing it. Otherwise, it's just way too complicated to answer in this kind of question.
Thank you. Regina?
The $317 million that needs to go back to the schools is going to make it difficult to balance the budget this year. But one of the things that was thrown out there last year when Medicaid expansion happened, that it was going to be over $500,000 for surplus for our state budget this next year. I doubt that's going to be in place, but hopefully we do have a surplus that we can work with. But we definitely are going to need to make some cuts somewhere else to be able to get that $320,000 back to the school districts. Exactly where that's going to go, I don't think it has to come out of one specific spot, but it's going to have, and fund sweeps is definitely not an option as far as I'm concerned, because that's how we balanced the budget before. But if you look past in years, at the end of Napolitano's reign, that's when our biggest one of our biggest deficits that we had to come out of was during that time. So if you're talking Democrats or Republicans, I'm telling you right now, the last 3 years have been a difficult climb out. And she's ready to give me the stop sign.
Sonny, you are
Lights.
blinded, it would
Yeah,
appear.
I am. What was the question again? I
The
confess,
question
I was on
I
the
will-
book, yes, you know, I'm just kidding. What was the question?
I will read the question again. With a $317 million debt owed to the schools, what will you personally do to ensure our cities don't suffer more with further cuts to pay the bill?
Well, those funds got swept in 2009 and started getting chopped off. But last year, we actually increased it 2% for that education per pupil funding. And it's kind of, you hear all these attacks, Republicans this, Republicans that. It was the Democrat leadership that wanted to increase and swell up the budget last year, $450 million. And they're also, their proposal, their leadership proposal, wanted to raise taxes. So, when it comes to legalization of marijuana and all that kind of stuff, I totally disagree with that, because all we're going to do is just make more customers for the drug cartels, because they're not just marijuana is going to come across. It's going to be more meth and more heroin. La Paz County already has a big meth problem, and we're talking about Wendon and Siloam. They have a lot of home invasions going on over there, and that's not marijuana, that's meth. A nice little rural community like that, and it's all coming across from the border. So when it comes to that education funding, it needs to be reinstated. It's that 301 promise. A promise is a promise, but what do we start cutting is the big question. And we need,
Okay, time.
Yeah.
Joe, I asked you that already, didn't I? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, this question will start with Beth, and it'll be a 60-second question. It's kind of a two-part question. Do you support mining in Arizona, and what are your opinions of coal-fired plants? And we'll start with Beth, and it's 60 seconds.
I know mining is historically a big part of Arizona's economy. And then we've had to shut down some of our coal production because of environmental concerns. I do trust that technology is getting better, and I know that that will make a huge difference. I don't know if we're there to allow enough coal-fired plants to be put into place. We obviously have solar and wind as alternatives. We just need to build our infrastructure, which of course brings in jobs. And mining, I think we're kind of maxed out at the moment because of the technology and the demand for the supply.
Thank you. Regina?
Mining is Arizona. That's what we do here. That's one of our big economic growth areas. So we, I think, should be maintaining our mines. One of the things that the EPA did this year was put on regulations on coal-fired plants that is unfair to Arizona. Again, Arizona being the stepchild. We have higher regulations being placed on us than any other place in the United States right now. Texas is the next one. So look at those two states. Those two states have been in the rears with this administration from the past and are in the future. So he has hit us harder, the EPA has hit us harder in Arizona and Texas. For the same number of plants that we have in the state of Arizona, we have to do like 10 times more than what the state of Kansas has to do. So somehow we have to create a equality on what we have to do to get our coal-fired plants up to the EPA standards. Whether or not, okay, thanks. I could go on forever on this
Yeah,
one.
these,
Okay, Sonny?
yeah, 90, 60-second soundbite, that's,
I know.
yeah, the EPA, Employment Prevention Agency. When you take away our national parks, i.e. the Grand Canyon and our Indian, Native American tribal lands, the rest of it, 50% of the state, what's left over, 50% is controlled by the federal trust lands. And, when you look at the map, and I urge you to go to AmericanLandsCouncil.org, because you'll see the western United States is blocked off by the federal government, is actually sitting on $150 trillion of natural resources that they're restricting all of us from actually having access to. And like I said, with all these federal mandates, the EPA, as far as I'm concerned, is a federal government overreach. When they're closing down these coal plants because we can't see a certain molecule in the air. It's, like I said, overregulation is strangling Arizona, and mining is a big thing of Arizona. I'm in favor of it. I'm also in favor of the coal plants because the technology's there.
Okay. And finally, Joe?
All of the major stakeholders in the Navajo generating plant got together when the EPA started suggesting that they were going to be changing some of the standards for air quality control. And all the stakeholders got together and basically self-regulated themselves over how they would tackle this problem. It is a problem. Just because you can't see a molecule doesn't mean it can't kill you. So the important thing is that the stakeholders that were involved in this got together to take care of this problem. And another thing maybe you're not aware of is that the Navajo do a lot of coal mining themselves, and most of the coal that they mine are sold to foreign entities who don't care about the Indian population, about their black lung diseases and their health concerns. So I applaud the Navajo Generating Power Plant for getting together and tackling the situation themselves to limit government overreach.
Okay, time. Real quick, I'll take a quick little break here. Does anyone else need another card? Please raise your hand. And the candidates are scowling at me with my time. I'm trying to keep this at an hour and a half. If you would like, I can extend it to 90 seconds a question, but it'll probably run a little bit longer. It's up to you folks. Is 60 seconds okay, or would you like more detail? 60 is okay, fair enough. Sorry, candidates, that's what you're getting.
They don't want to hear from us any more than they
Thank
have
you.
to.
Okay, this question, we'll start with Regina. Privatized prisons are expensive and lend themselves to corruption. Why does Arizona have them, or what is your stance on privatized prisons?
I think the privatized prisons was needed because we didn't have enough of our state-funded prisons available for them. And if there was some way that we could fund our state-funded prisons, then we probably wouldn't have to lean on the privatized prisons so much. What we need to do is make sure that the same regulations go into the private prisons as goes into the state-funded prisons.
Sonny?
Well, number one, these are minimum security prisons, and you know what, they run a heck of a lot more efficiently than the state-run ones, and I've done extensive study on that last year and this year. Like I said, they create jobs, local jobs, and they're low minimum security prisons. You know what, people do bad things and they need to go to jail. I mean, we're not just going to hold our hands and give them a cookie. But like I said, usually when the state starts running things, then things get too bureaucratic, and they just don't run very efficiently. When private companies get involved, they, they run a heck of a lot more efficiently, and like I said, they actually create local jobs.
Yep.
And if there's any corruption, then we nip that in the bud. But first things first.
I believe that we need to wean ourselves off of a private prison industry. Their motive isn't to rehabilitate, send people out. Their motive is to make money. They don't care necessarily if somebody is going to be rehabilitated, set back with the proper tools and adjustment to society to keep them out. That is not their purview. Their purview is to make profit. So I would think that we need to move away from that and also kind of move towards looking at other ways to keep individuals out of prison, even if they've made a mistake, especially if drug and alcohol. There are cheaper ways to rehabilitate an individual than to send them to prison, and that's what we have to look at closely.
Thank you. And finally, Beth?
I really have a problem with privatized prisons because it is stealing taxpayer money. The government has done, our state government did very well at being able to provide the kind of, it's not supposed to be punitive, it is supposed to be rehabilitation. Rehabilitation takes a little bit more than just making sure they're locked in the cell. Privatized prison companies so far have been able to do well enough to make sure that they had a lower staff and we lost prisoners out of the prison up here by Yucca. I'm sure you remember this a few years ago. We also remember that those close to our governor were very much into making money off of privatized prisons. We do not want to be required to have a certain number of prisoners every year. I'm against them.
Okay, thank you. This question will start with, who are we on, Sunny now? Yep. Sunny, 60 seconds on, how do you feel about the sale of public lands for private purposes, and give me a reason why you feel that way?
Public lands for private purposes, it gives the local community something to be able to, something tangible that where they can draw taxes on. For example, education, economic development. The federal government is like locked, I mean, look at this, what we have out here, was it Block 12 or 21, whatever it is, that the BLM has got a land lock on. That is something that this local community, it's a gem. If the local community had that to be able to put out for economic development, that money is going to be, that tax dollar is going to go towards this local school district. And property taxes, first and foremost, goes right to these school districts for education. So public lands, when you look at Texas, when they got their statehood, there was no federal trust lands. Almost 99% of the land in Texas belongs to the citizens of Texas. Here in Arizona, we are lucky if we have 18% is actually private land in the state of Arizona. So I even think we need to have even turn over the state trust lands to the local communities.
Time. Okay, Joe?
I would be very careful in going down that road, giving public money to private individuals, and I'll give you one good example. We have an individual now over in the Red Lake area in Mojave County who purchased some land and is now in negotiations to try to consolidate the land so it's not so checkerboardy, so he has one big plot of it. The issue is that his property is over one of the largest aquifers in the state of Arizona. And the way that he has the land now, we may not be able to control, when he gets all this control of that land, what he wants to do with that water. So we have to be very careful when we go down this road as far as turning our land over. A lot of research has to be done into what lands. I don't want the Grand Canyon, for instance, turned over to a private industry. So we have to be very careful how we go down this road.
Beth?
Selling public land it has been a part of Arizona's method of being able to provide funds for public education. It's dispersed on a very disciplined method over the years. How much land is sold so that they're according to the need of the public schools. If we start just, okay, all of our public land is for sale, that will not provide for our current and our future public education needs. What it will do is it'll get sold really cheap, and then again, we'll have more corporations that don't pay their property taxes. Thank you.
Finally, Regina.
I mean, if I'm understanding this question right, because we do this already, just what Beth said, and that's how we get our subsidy school funds for our schools, is we sell our public lands for private use. But it's done in a very systematic way. One of the issues that we have, and what I addressed right from the beginning, is getting our state lands under our control. I think that's a bigger issue than this. And I think what right now, the PILT money that we should be getting is $1 per acre. We're getting 63 cents. The federal government has paid us 63 cents right now per acre this last year. And it's been like that for years in past. So they are way in the rears of what they owe us. Our state, when our state became a state, was promised that $1 per acre, and we're not getting it. So we have to go back up to the federal dollar, and this is where our coalitions with our federal level is important. This is where we have to create coalitions to be able to work with the federal level and the state level so we can get our state lands back to us so we can get control of it.
Okay. Beth and Regina, you led into this next question nicely. So we will start this one with Joe. And basically, it's talking about balancing the budget and why we discuss cutting. Why can't there also be discussion of ways to increase revenue? So the question was, why does balancing the budget only require cutting but not increasing revenues? And you have 60 seconds, and we'll begin with Joe.
Well, we always look to cut first because nobody likes to pay more taxes than they already do. However, I'm not an individual that really subscribes to the notion that if you allow somebody to have a tax break and then you take that tax break away, all of a sudden that's a tax increase. You know, some of the taxes, the tax breaks that we give to corporations, they have sunset clauses, and we need to stop extending the sunset of those because that is one way to increase revenue. Overall, if we work to have a quality education and bring businesses in, and we do it responsibly, then hopefully our tax base is broadened and we don't have to worry about increasing the taxes. But until we get to that point, when Arizona is a state that welcomes businesses, then we'll start digging ourselves out of the hole.
Beth?
Okay. We've been cutting our way to balancing the budget for too long and favoring legislation that gives other people money. So obviously, my answer would be that we need to look at stopping to give so many favors to people who already have money. It's an addiction for some profiteers to want to make sure that they have more money. The state of Arizona needs to be able to, of course, look across the board and take little bits out of each area, but we also need to be increasing, and you'd love my answer. We have an answer right now. We can bring in more business. Hello, legalize marijuana. Cannabis is needed, it is available, and it is taxable. We can lower our black market and get it off the streets and bring in revenue.
Regina?
Well, I'm all for economic growth, but not through that. I think that that's what's going to increase our being able to pull in and increase the funds for us so that we don't have to raise taxes. And I think that's what we don't want to do, is no one wants to see a tax increase. That's why we never talk about increasing this pot. But the pot needs to be increased by increasing our economic growth. That's our number one thing, economic growth. I can't say it enough, economic growth. And state lands, getting our state lands is the other part of that. I think those two things are the two strongest things that we could do to increase that pot so we don't have to keep making cuts. Cuts are in value, are what we have to do when we have a smaller pot. So let's make that pot bigger. So somehow we got to work on getting our growth in our economy.
Pardon the pot pun.
Pardon the pot pun.
You know, my plan, you know, I like Calvin Coolidge's, his plan, where he cut individual income taxes, and when you cut individual income taxes, that gives you more spendable income. Just like Beth says, if we raise the minimum wage, you'll have more spendable income. Not really, because all you can do is just impose more government, imposed inflation. But if you cut the personal income tax, then you'll have more spendable income in your pocket, which that actually aids the lower income folks, the middle, which helps out also the middle class and helps the sub-middle class to be able to become middle class. But I didn't know, Beth, you were such a capitalist with you know, legalizing the marijuana corporation. But you know, that becomes crony capitalism in a way. But you know, I mean, we were looking at Colorado's model, and you know, if they've increased DUIs have increased 300%, fatalities for marijuana has increased 30%. Not only that, but they're actually having a homeless problem there. You need to stop reading the wrong newspaper, Michael. But thank you.
Time. Okay, this question will start with Beth. And this person says, as a Republican, my elected officials refuse to help me as well as a friend. Why would I want to return incumbents to statewide positions again? What would you do to handle or help individual constituents? And we'll have 60 seconds. Beth?
Well, I'm going to say something that probably is going to be not what you want to hear, but sometimes there are situations that nobody can help. That being said, I don't think most incumbents should be going back right now. Our economy has not improved from what's been in our legislature at this current time. We have had many legislative issues that have then created more problems. You keep talking about not wanting so much regulation, and yet what have we had? More regulation. When we're actually listening to the people and we go, wait a minute, does that require new law? Or am I going to put in a new law just so that I can prove why I'm there? I'm not putting in laws so I can prove why I'm there. We don't need to continually, everything has to have a new law. We do need to balance what happens at the state, and there are a lot of incumbents that shouldn't go back.
Regina?
Well, I'm a Republican, and I'm not a career politician. I've worked in my council and government affairs, my professional organization. And that in itself, I've seen that things can get done down at the state legislature, but when you talk about responding to constituents, the constituents should be responded to. But there, again, something that Beth just said was that not all issues can be responded to in the way that the constituent wants it to be responded to. We'll work towards that. If you see as me personally, when I'm running for a campaign, if someone has written to me or called me and asked me a question, I've responded to it immediately. I've gotten back to them, and I feel that that's what we should try to do. That sometimes isn't possible to do in our difficult and busy situations. I'm personally taking a pay cut and working less in my office so that I could be able to take on this position. And it's not because I want to be a career politician. It's because I feel like I can do.
Sonny?
I don't know what this person had a question. If he can hang around later, I would like to maybe address that issue because maybe I must overlook something. But I've always tried to be very responsive to a constituent request. And like Regina and Beth had said, some situations you just cannot fix or intervene with, whether it could be a jurisdictional type of issue. But I've always been responsive to constituent issues. I welcome them because it gives me the opportunity to rattle bureaucratic cages. But when it comes to things not being done, I kind of take offense to some of us shouldn't be actually returning to, in order to get rid of a law, you got to write a law. I don't know what the person was referring to, but you know what, we are in our economic position because of Janet Napolitano. You know what, when Janet Napolitano was the governor, they went in with massive spending, and they used a few Republicans to roll the Republican caucus, and they went in for all kinds of massive spending, and it dug us in the hole. Then the economy took a tank, so.
Okay, and finally, Joe?
Hey, that's a great question. I agree. I think we should vote all the incumbents out. But maybe that's just selfish. That's just selfish of me. You know, let's just let the record speak for itself. The state is not increasing employment like the rest of the nation. Our school system is horrible. We need to move Arizona forward. And the only way to do that, if we expect the same representation that we have and expect different results, we're just fooling ourselves. We need someone like myself who is going to go to work for the people and not work for the party. I'm going to go to work to get jobs done, not work to get reelected.
Okay, thank you. This question will begin with Regina. You have 60 seconds on this. Let me see if I can word this. How are you going to handle, or what are your thoughts on the drop-offs of illegals, and what can you personally do to help with that if get elected, or affected, I should say?
Personally, I think you can't do anything personally. What you got to do is have relationships and coalitions of people that can help you, and that means at the state level and the federal level. I think that Obama was showboating when those illegals were dropped off in Texas and brought over to Arizona to make a point. That's when children are brought over, everybody's attention gets caught. And it wasn't necessarily what should have been done. And I think as humanely as we possibly can, we get them back into their country. There is nothing about illegal that is not illegal. It's illegal. We have illegal immigrants in our country. And once it's illegal, that says it all right there. It's not undocumented work or undocumented people, it's illegals. They're here illegally. And somehow we've got to get them back to where they're at, secure our borders, and that's what we need to do in Arizona, is start working on securing the borders.
Sonny?
Yeah, I thought that was really humanitarian for the federal government to drop these folks right on the streets of Tucson and Phoenix, and they were not checked out by medical authority. And the same thing they did in California at a town called Murrieta, California. I'm very intimate about that, knowledge about that town, because I used to live there before I came to Arizona. That facility is about as big as this building. They have 2 cells in there, 2 holding cells, and they dropped 3 busloads of people in there. And that was only a way to poke eyes in the community there, because it's characterized as a middle class and upper middle class bedroom community of Murrieta, California, and wanted to label all the folks there as racist. This is more than just political grandstanding. It's shameful that our federal government would actually do that. And what the Attorney General already had put a stop to it. And by the way, I might add, none of those folks have actually showed up at any of the immigration hearings that they were supposed to. So they're out there running on the street. So we'll have to deal with that later, especially in our schools.
Okay, Joe?
I think that we need to change the way that we view these individuals. Why do we, they're undocumented. Just because somebody breaks the law, you don't call them an illegal. Do you speed? Do you break the speed limit? Do you jaywalk? Are you breaking a law? So should we call you an illegal? These are individuals, some here escaping violence, escaping death. Their mothers have sent them here to a better life. We need to treat them what they are. They're human beings. If they need to go back, we need to go through the process. But while they're here, we need to take care of them. They're children and single women. And it just appalls me, the attitude of a lot of people, that we're just treating these people just like a number, and they don't have a soul. And that's shameful for us, and shame on us.
Beth?
Number one, they're refugees. We've had refugees come to our borders over and over and over again. In Florida, the refugees from Castro's government. When we were started, before we were even a nation, many people got on boats and came as refugees. I had a very interesting discussion the other day with somebody about whether or not man, meaning humankind, should believe in God. And I bring this up because when we get too full of ourselves, then we forget that there is a higher power. We forget that we're just one more person. And I think that's what's going on in these questions and in the media blowing this up. The federal law does have this taken care of. We need it fixed.
Okay, this question we will begin with Sunny. And let's see, what percentage of HERF taken from, I'll just say Mojave County, do you feel we deserve, and what can be done about it?
All of it. We deserve all of it. I've been fighting very hard for HERF. We almost lost the HERF being reinstated this last session because some folks wanted to hold out on more spending for higher education. So we almost lost that. Like I said, $30 million being reinstated for fiscal year 15, and for fiscal year 16, another $30 million, and then fiscal year 17, another $60 million. And eventually, I hope that we can finally wean the state off of skimming. They call it sweeps, but I call it a skim because it's our money, and it should be coming back. But this, like I said, it becomes one of those issues where Maricopa County, the state of Maricopa, and rural Arizona are always fighting over, they're fighting over quarters. We're hoping we get pennies out here. So it becomes a big fight, and this is why we have to have strong, united front from Mojave and La Paz County.
Thank you. Joe?
I said in my opening statement that I will work closely with the governments, both city and county, for Mojave and La Paz. It was a shame. It was a shameful act what the legislature did in sweeping the money that was needed up here in our county. Our roads are deteriorating. Bridges need work, and we need a strong advocate to go down to the state and represent the diverse population that we have here to make sure that all these issues are being addressed. And I do applaud our representation here. I agree with Sonny. You did a good job to making sure that we did get our HERF funds, and hopefully we'll continue to make sure that this sweeping or skimming, as he says, it comes to an end.
Thank you.
So
Beth?
not all incumbents are bad?
Yes, our HERF funds need to come back. They shouldn't have been taken in the first place. There's no question about that. I questioned a lot of things that the legislature did when they took those funds, just like selling our capital, our state buildings, just so that some people could get more profits. Thank you.
I think this is going to be a bipartisan agreement here. We all want our HERF funds back. I applaud Sonny for the hard work he did this last year, and that's what I said. One of the committees that Sonny's on is on the transportation and public safety, transportation, and that has helped us tremendously, having somebody working for rural Arizona. And that's kind of what we have to do when we're down at the Capitol, is work rule against Maricopa on this issue, especially this issue. This is like one of the strongest issues that we have to stand together strong and work against Maricopa County. And so we've talked about this with other representatives that I've worked with, and I've also worked with Representative Borelli on this, and I feel like that this is something that we can continue to stay strong on.
Okay, thank you. This question will begin with Joe. You may or may not have taken super PAC donations, but I'll pose the question of, are you comfortable with not knowing, or should you be comfortable with not knowing, who is funding your campaign?
Well, during my entire campaign, I have pledged to not take money from corporations, PACs, or businesses, because I do believe that the citizens of Arizona got it right in 1998 when they passed the Clean Elections Law, which funds elections. I assure you that individuals that contributed $5 to my campaign are not going to be able to sway any legislation that may come my way. And that's a pledge I will make, that I will not accept that money. Now, I do want to know where people get their money from. It's important to know. We have laws that say no foreign company, no foreign country can contribute. However, if we don't know where this dark money, we don't know the contributors, how do we know that a foreign country that may have a specific interest in some of our resources may not be able to influence somebody who receives that money? It needs to be known.
Beth?
Number one, I know I don't have any dark money. I don't have enough money for signs right now. Politics has changed so much. I mean, just to be able to represent the people, we have to be able to let the people know what we're standing for, what we're willing to fight for, and how you can get a hold of us and tell us what you want us to fight for. Clean elections has been one of the best things that Arizona has done. I would love to see it be done federally, and that would take care of a lot of dark money. Arizona's been an innovator before it became a state, and this was one of those pride and joys. Dark money, we're going there again. Prophets, people who think they're God. Thank you.
Thank you. Regina?
I am running an election on private donations. And one of the reasons I decided to do that was because I felt like public dollars shouldn't be necessarily spent for a campaign. And so I decided to do privates. And everything that I have collected up to this point is on the Secretary of State website. So if you need to know where my dollars are coming from, it's all there. And I felt like that the people that donated to my campaign are the people that believed in me. And that's why I did what I did. Thank you.
And finally, Sonny?
I also went traditional, and it's all full disclosure on the Secretary of State's website. I've accepted some campaign contributions from some individuals that I'm surprised actually donated, because I actually killed legislation that they had in front of me. But times are hard, and I'm not going to be trying to, beg for money from folks that really need it. And, if I do a good job, and it's funny how, because the lobbyists always get bashed a lot, because you got one lobbyist that handles 15 different clients. So as far as dark money goes, I don't think have seen any of that in my campaign. I've tried to run it as lean as possible as I can, and I'm like I said, it's full disclosure on the state website. People donate to the campaign. Like I said, I'm surprised at some of the folks that did, some lobbyists that did donate, that actually killed 3 of their bills, but yet they told me that because you are honest and you listen to us and you give us the time. And,
Time. I'm not giving you any more time, Sonny, sorry. Okay, this would appear, before we go into conclusion here, this appears to be our final question, unless there's a note card floating out there. So this one, it's a little maybe lengthy, so I'll give you 90 seconds, Sonny. And we're going to begin this one with Beth. And the question is, how will you be voting on each of the 3 statewide propositions?
I have to say that I can't say what I'm going to vote on each of the 3 statewide propositions, because I've only seen information on 2, and I haven't seen all the information on the 2. So I'll leave it at that.
And I'm with Beth on this. I think there's not enough research out there at this point. I haven't been able, they just came out last week, I think, as the public propositions. And reading through them, I definitely want to do some more research on my own to be able to answer yes or no on any one of those.
Sonny?
Mine's quick. If you read the Mojave Daily News, I already answered those 3 questions. I vote yes.
And finally, Joe?
I would vote no on the, I believe it's the first prop, the 200, that deals with making it a crime for a municipal or state employee to assist in, well, actually, that's a different one. In making the government, making the state pay for its own programs, the federal mandated programs, making the state pay. I will vote no against that one, and I will vote no against increasing legislature's pay. Like Regina, I am actually taking a pay cut to represent the people of Mojave and La Paz, but I don't think that I can personally agree to a pay cut when it's coming off the back of our children. If we can't take care of the education, then we don't need to be paying ourselves any more money. And I also agree that I'll be voting yes on a proposition that has to do with medical, the particulars of it, I'm not real certain of it, but basically the right to, I think Regina probably is aware of this one. I think it's the Prop 3, whatever it is.
Yeah, right. Time. That one was a tough one.
Sorry.
No, that was a tough one. I have just got the book and mailed myself, so. Okay, so now we'll have 3 minutes for closing statements to tell us why we should vote for you. And we'll go in reverse order on the desk, so we'll start with Sonny, Regina, and then we'll go Beth, and finally Joe.
Now, how many minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay.
He's going to take all of them.
And once again, I'm going to be fighting again for more HERF funding being not skimmed. It needs to be reinstated. There are some bureaucratic agencies there in Phoenix that do need to be thinned out or trimmed up. And of course, there's a lot of big moving parts of a lot of that. But there's a lot of misinformation that's being thrown around out there. Arizona is not ranked, when you really look at this, 47 out of 50 with funding, because you cannot compare us to the state of Texas, which has 100%, 99% of their federal lands, actually public lands, that the state actually has control over. Public is private. Arizona, like I said, less than 18% of Arizona lands are in private use. The rest of it is tied up in state and federal trust lands. Now, we're not talking about the Grand Canyon. I'm not talking about the Navajo Nations. We're talking about the rest of that needs to be reinstated. And that's the money that should be going towards funding. It's a violation of the Enabling Act, the State Enabling Act. A promise is a promise. It's 102 years overdue. These federal trust lands need to be released back to the citizens of Arizona, a promise with our statehood. And of course, another misinformation out there is us being bashed on Senate Bill 1062. 1062 was nothing more than a well-organized, well-executed propaganda campaign to do one thing and one thing only, and that was to put Ruben Gallego on a national platform to run for Congress, because, wow, what a coincidence. Congressman Pastor announced he was going to retire. And guess what? Ruben Gallego got elected to Congress. He had no Republican challenger because that's his district. And by the way, I might add the Religious Freedom Act was signed into law by President Clinton, and it was one of the main sponsors of that bill was Nancy Pelosi. So this was not a Republican, right-wing bill. It was all about religion. This was trying to prevent litigious activism from somebody that owns a business from being attacked. And actually, it wasn't an attack and discrimination on anybody, it was gay or lesbian. As a matter of fact, if a gay or lesbian person owned a business, it could have protected them from somebody from the far religious right from attacking them and under threat of a lawsuit. So once again, folks, what you read in the newspapers is not always what's going to be true, especially coming out of Phoenix. They have a habit of bashing Republicans, making the Democrats look good, but yet they don't touch the things that actually makes the Democrats look bad. For example, enabling illegal drug use on your tax dollars, somebody collecting a TANF, temporary assistance needy family. If somebody is convicted of a crime, somebody convicted of illegal drug use, they voted against that bill. That would actually, the court would have to require to report that to DES and cut that funding from somebody who's on drugs. Thank you.
Regina?
Over the past 21 years that I've been in this district, I have been a leader in my community. I've worked with the Chamber of Commerce, I've worked with the school districts, I've worked with my profession, also a leader in my profession. In all of these areas, I have done a darn good job in what I've done. And I feel like that I have advanced our community and I've advanced my profession by being a leader in all those areas. One of the things I want to do is be the leader for this district. I feel like I can advance what our needs are and what's going on in rural Arizona at the state level. I've created coalitions. I have friends that I've already been working with down at the state level. Every year I go down to the legislature, I run bills for my profession, I line up people to speak at the committees to be able to tell a story and be able to get those bills passed. I've also been working with Congressman Gosar at the national level. I helped him get elected in his first term when he got elected in District 1, and I've helped him get elected in our district. And I have those relationships, I have those coalitions. Those are people that I could work with every day. I work with Sunny. I've already been working with the representatives. So these are things that I bring to the table that I feel like I have heads above some of the other candidates that are here with us today. My commitment to you as your representative is going to be strong. I'm a hard worker. I work very hard at my profession. I'm one of 14 kids. I'm in the middle of the family, and I put myself through dental school. I've never worked less than one job, sometimes 3 jobs at a time while I was going through school. And I don't require a lot of sleep, and ask my husband. And I work continuously. I'm always trying to better our profession, our state, and I would do this even if I wasn't your representative. But as your representative, I just feel I could get more of the job accomplished if I'm there at the state level. And I would ask for your vote.
Me too.
Thank you. Beth?
The whole reason I ever ran for office was to help our kids, and that still doesn't change. My daughters have graduated from Kingman High School. I taught in the Kingman district for 7 years. Prior to teaching and since retiring from teaching, I've been a real estate agent in the Kingman area. I've been a real estate agent in the Phoenix area. I've worked in property management. I've been a business owner. I understand what it is to pay sales tax every month. I really look at this as doing the best I can to help people. This isn't about my being able to put a notch on my belt that I'm somebody up there. This is about being able to take care of people, being able to be a voice. I want to be able to listen to you and to be able to reiterate what you're needing. It's about being able to create balance. I took this action because we needed someone like me, not because I wanted to be your representative for myself. I wanted to be able to get work done that helps the citizens of this district, that helps the citizens of Arizona, that provides the groundwork for our future voters, our children, who are going to be taking care of us as we get older. They need our guidance in being able to take care of what is real in this world. Anybody has the opportunity to go out there and make a whole bunch of money if you find the right people to teach you how to do it. That doesn't mean that everything the legislature does should protect the people making a whole lot of money. It means that the legislature needs to be able to protect those who are not making the big dollars. We need to be able to provide the paths that allow people to have the life that they would like to have. And I really do hope you will vote for me, just because I know that my integrity will shine through. I have been a business owner. I have worked with children in a very positive way. My heart is in Arizona soil. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Joe?
Thank you all for coming here tonight, and Paul and Chris and Clean Elections Commission. I'm running because we need to move Arizona forward. Regina said earlier why our business is leaving here. You can say that it's federal overreach. I say it's bills like SB 1070 and SB 1062. Representative Borelli was talking about all the good merits of 1062, but most businesses in Arizona spoke out against it. And thank God that our governor heeded the advice of the business community and vetoed the bill. It was just bad legislation. And unfortunately, it's been the type of legislation that our representatives have been giving us here in Mojave County for the past 4 years. And counting. And without making a change, we're not going to be changed. We're not going to move forward. I'm asking you to vote for me because I will work hard, as I have in 36 years in the flooring industry, working in people's homes under their demanding eye to make sure that the money they were spending, they were getting the product that they deserved. And I want to put that same work ethic to you now to go to the state capitol and work on the floor of your house. And to do that, I need your vote. I will work hard to provide jobs for Mojave County. I will work hard to provide opportunities for our children and increase the quality of our education. But we cannot move Arizona forward with the same representation that we have had. So I'm asking for your vote on November 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that concludes this evening. I'd like to say first, can we all give a round of appreciation to our participants? And to all of you, we thank you who took the time to come this evening and inform yourself before voting. We encourage you to find out more about clean elections and the candidates running for office by visiting www.azcleanelections.gov. A video of this forum this evening will be available within 72 hours of this conclusion. Just a quick reminder for the local folks here, next Wednesday evening in this room, there will be, October the 8th, there will be a mayoral debate hosted, I believe, by Women's Council. Is that correct? So that will be here next Wednesday evening. And council? Okay, thank you. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.